Meeting of the Lee County School Board will now come to order. This time I would ask if you join me in prayer and pledge allegiance to the flag. Dear Father, we are so thankful for the many wonderful opportunities you allow us. We are thankful that you allow us to live in a country where we can express ourselves and live free. And all the other blessings that you send forward our way daily. We certainly offer you our thanks. At this time, we would ask that you be with us and guide us as we meet as a board and make decisions concerning the education in Levy County, and that thy will be done. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. For this cause, I would request at this time that the agenda be amended as follows. After item D, sexual predators on school campuses, we insert item E, contract construction manager services for new WMHS ACA construction group. So moved. Thanks. Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. This time I would also seek a motion to adopt the agenda as written. So moved. Second. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. That motion carries. Welcome our visitors. If there are any that are not either on the agenda or scheduled to speak, now's the time that we would invite you to do that. We'd also like to issue our special invitation to our television personality that we have sitting up here at the board with us this morning, Ms. Brookins. Y'all didn't know she'd been on TV?
Dancing with the Stars.
She was doing something with it.
You are too much.
Sorry about that. Okay, item D, Ms. Madison.
Mr. Superintendent, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board. About a week and a half ago, I had the privilege to sit in a meeting with some of the friends of our education system that you see out here, and to talk about, and I know the superintendent talked to you about the meeting last week, about the sexual predator sign that you see out here in front of you. And at that meeting was every chief of police from every municipality, and the sheriff's department, and also Andrea Muirhead from the state's attorney's office. And they're here today, and they're going to speak about the signs of the sexual predator law. And if you recall, there's been some discussion previously about whether or not sexual predators after school events like basketball games, football games, and stuff like that, and being able to make sure that we exclude them from those events. And that's what the meeting was about, and posting these signs and giving notice to that. Also want to bring your attention to, I hope you received the press release that the sheriff has initiated with the county attorney some time ago for the county to draft up a sexual predator ordinance. So that's in effect within the whole county. And we have with us, Sheriff Bobby McCallum, Chief Douglas, Andrew Muirhead from the state's attorney's office. We have Deputy Chief Clay Conley, the chief clerk could not be here today, he's sick. And of course, we got our Max Long. So I think Chief Douglas initiated this meeting. So, however, you want to come speak about this?
Sheriff Chief Law Enforcement Officer for the county. He said, I'm going to speak. I said, yes. Well, I really thank you for letting us speak to you today. And this is near and dear to our hearts because, like you, our kids are very valuable. They're our future. And so we had been looking at this law for a little bit, and the reason we did is because during the Christmas holidays, we got a sexual offender who attended a play at elementary school, and nobody knew that he was an offender until one day he recognized him and told the assistant principal, instantly he got up and confronted the guy and did what he was supposed to do. So we got to discussing it with the state attorney's office, the sheriff, and the chiefs, and we said, this law that's out there, and you have a copy of that in front of you, needs to be brought to an awareness, not only to the schools, but to us as law enforcement officers and to the offenders themselves. So what we did was, we come up with this sign, and we talked to our state attorney there, and she did some background on the law. She said, you're absolutely right, this is exactly what we're supposed to be doing. And she agreed to have a meeting with the sheriff and the rest of the chiefs, and she agreed to come with that. Andrea is the expert on this because she's an attorney. she's our advisor. So before you, what you see here is a notification, and you can see that, I'm not going to read it because you can read it yourself, but as you can see, after a copy of the law is given, our suggestion is that this notice be placed at the schools, at your each school, if you have a gym, that'd be there at the gym, the football fields on the fence where they enter, so that they're made aware. Our part would be is that we have, if you look in the back, very back of this, back I gave you, there's a receipt for a copy of Florida Statute 856-102. And what our job will be is to go to each offender, they'll sign, they'll get a copy of the law, they'll sign for it, that way they've been notified. This will be copied, if the sheriff's department did it, be kept in the sheriff's department. If Williston or Chiefland or Cedar Key did it, it will be kept in our record section. That way, when the arrest is made on this, this receipt would go to the state attorney's office and help her prosecution. So I guess what we're asking you today is, will you work with us and help us to make our kids safer by, one thing, putting these signs up, your part, notifying your principals. I'm sure they already know this because I know a lot of your elementary schools already have the scanners. And like I said, as soon as we told the assistant principal what happened that night, he immediately took care of the problem. But just to be more aware, the law right there will be written on the entrance to schools or football fields or whatever. And we'll make sure that the offenders have these copies of the law. And I was also, I just want to bring your attention to one survey. Yeah, I know you're looking at me, you understand, out of the 50 states, Florida is number 3 in the amount of sexual offenders. I didn't like that. Number 1 is California, number 2 is Texas, and we're number 3. So I can tell you that we're going to do everything we can do to protect our children, and I know you are too, because that's our calling, is to protect them. And so I just ask you today to consider what Jeff has brought before you, what we brought before you. Yes, sir.
There's 2 levels, right, of sexual offender, sexual predator. What's that?
I think it's predator offender.
Predator.
Something.
But this would include both categories, correct?
Yeah.
Any sexual offender who's required to register by the state, which is the vast majority of offenders, and definitely predators.
Okay, and I know sometimes there's a time variable that plays into this, like if they were sexual offender 17 years ago up north somewhere.
It just depends on whether they're still required to register, and that's the easiest way is to check with FPLE. If they have to register with FPLE, then this law will apply to them.
Okay, got it, thank you.
And you'll notice that the law says registered.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
And I'd like to share, if you want to come talk about the county ordinance and educate the board on that, and I'd like to talk to the board about parking procedures.
Good morning.
Good morning.
In follow-up to that, of course, as Chief Douglas said, we had a meeting that I called with all the chiefs in regards to this subject matter, and we certainly support that and think that we've been fortunate, only had 2 or 3 instances Harvey, Cedar Key, and Chieftain schools. We've had a little issue pertaining to this. So I think it's, as I've researched this, I find more and more that the sexual predators and offenders, when they're released back out into society, that they really don't get a packet of all this. They're expected, just like each one of us are, to know all the laws in the state of Florida, and we're supposed to abide by them. I can tell you, the sheriff, I'm sure that everyone in this room probably agree, there's no way that I know that we can recite the use statute numbers and all the laws in the state of Florida, but we know the main ones, and those that most citizens and people abide by each and every day. But as I research this, I find out that the offenders and predators are expected and required, and by law must know this information. So I do support the signage at the schools and support Chief Douglas and thank him for bringing this issue to my attention so we could meet and discuss it. And, of course, Andrew has been very supportive in that research. So I support this, and along with Chief Douglas, ask you to, as a school board, to support that. As far as the county ordinance, I realized right after I took office that we had some serious issues with sexual offenders and predators in this county. We become a dumping ground, for the lack of a better word, for offenders and predators. Other counties and other larger metropolitan areas have closed the loopholes so much that they almost don't have a place to live in the larger counties. Levy County right now, at least as of last Friday, I believe when I checked, we had 179 offenders and predators in Levy County. And I can promise you that probably 80% of those were convicted and sentenced and committed crimes in other counties, not in Levy County. I would say 20 to 25% are our own offenders and so forth. So what we have become, especially with one home in East Williston, is somewhat of a dumping ground. We have 10 or 11 people, offenders and predators that live in one house right next to a school bus driver's home in Williston, in East Williston. They're in close proximity to school bus stops. I've had much concern expressed to me as sheriff by citizens and parents who live in that area. And that's really what got me to researching and thinking about an ordinance that would protect us like other counties are being protected. They're shoving their problems to us. I think it's time to try to do as much as we can to put a stop to that. So what I asked the county commission and the county attorney to do is start researching an ordinance that would prevent these group homes or not, no counseling or anything going on. It's a lady running out 10 or 11 people, a 3-bedroom home for $400 or $500 a month, making all kind of money. So it's a money thing. We're ending up that we've got that large contingent of offenders and predators in one place, and they're scattered all over Levy County. But what I'm trying to prevent is that we have any more of these group-type homes where we've got that many in one location. In some respects, it makes it a little easier because we try to do regular checks and make sure that the offenders and predators are living at the addresses that they reported to us. But on the other hand, you can see and imagine the possibilities when you get that many together in that location, or the fact it could potentially have to cause harm to some of our children and others. So I would ask the school board, the superintendent, and Jeff, Mr. Edison, have drafts of that ordinance. And it's in the review stage now. I have reviewed it and gone over it, and the county attorney, Ann Brown, and I will be sitting down. I've just got 2 or 3 little things to discuss with her about it. But I would ask, since we're here today, ask the superintendent of the school board and also support passing that ordinance when it gets to that point in time. It will tighten up restrictions around school bus stops. We'll have to make some effort to try to identify school bus stops, and I know those have potential to change on an annual basis. But do the best we can to find those stops. I know Andrea has the draft of that ordinance as well. We're all going over that. But if you have any questions or any comments or any way that you want that ordinance tweaked, I appreciate hearing from you. guys. I think I've said enough. I thank you for the opportunity to be here today, and we certainly continue to support our schools in every way we possibly can and share some. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Can I just, let the board know kind of what you're paying for already, and what our position is in sexual predators in school. The way the ordinance essentially reads is that, or the statute reads is that, if they can come into school if we chaperone them. But we're not in the business of chaperoning adults, we're in the business of chaperoning kids. And so, when we're asked, our answer is no. Now, there are times that they have to come in for ISP meetings and try to schedule them after today. If it can't be after today, it's in the front office, but it's always chaperone supervised. And just to educate you on that, you are already paying for a system in our elementary school. It's called the Raptor system. And if you've been through school, you see them, they swipe the IDs and it checks all this background stuff. And that's in place at every school that has an elementary grades. So that's there and it checks those. So I do want to thank Chief Douglas. He brought this up and he was talking about the printing of these signs and Sheriff McCallum and the support of what they're doing. And I guess what we did. Yeah, Chief Conley and also Deputy Chief Conley and Deputy Sandlin. He was with us as well, or Chief Sandlin, he was with us as well. So all the municipalities were there. And the support of these are truly our friends. Because when we get a situation, these are people we call and they respond. So I guess, Mr. Hastings, what we need to do is make sure it's okay with the board to purchase these signs and put them where we need to put them.
I don't think we need action on that. We can just do that. I think it's a wonderful, great idea. I do want to ask you though, if we need to change verbiage or update verbiage on our sexual predator policies and Google policy. We need to look at that.
We'll have to look at that. We'll have to look at it.
Okay, good, we'll look at it. And, Mr. McCollum, I'd like to say that if we have 179 sexual predators that have been registered or identified, we've probably got 350 total. The rest just haven't been caught yet. They have prosecuted, but their day will come. That's way too many for our population. And I appreciate the work that y'all have done to try to identify and help our society and our kids. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And
Would it be possible to talk to the county sign department about making those in metal?
You can, that's actually
Is that just an example?
PVC, and it should last, I think they said 5 to 10 years, because it is made out of PVC, and that's less than $5 for that sign.
Well, my thought on the metal sign is it is so permanent, because this is a permanent thing. And also, would it be possible for maybe one at the fences to be larger than that? If we could talk to the county, and I mean, this is I'm only speaking for myself, but I believe everybody here is in agreement. We are 100% behind this, because this is atrocious. This is like the most vile thing there is out there. And I wanted to know, we are 100% behind you, and we mean business. And I would like to see us have permanent metal signs and larger, any and everywhere we can put it.
We'll make it so.
Thank you, sir.
I think we all recognize that the things are a lot different than when we used to could walk a mile and a half in the snow and rain to get to school and all, and be safe. That things are so much different now, and as the chair and just as an individual citizen, appreciate the effort that all have come together on this. And obviously, as a group, we can expect to get more done than just one entity in itself. So thank you, Sheriff, and Chiefs, and Deputy Chiefs, and all the rest of you. Appreciate that.
One more point of emphasis, and I know we never, ever want it to happen, and I think we've been very fortunate for any instances really happening in our schools and in my memory in a long time. But these situations do happen, and Andrea, I have to be careful, she'll choke me, but we do have an active case right now that happened at a church, at a fellowship dinner, in a restroom. That is an active case. It happened over in the Chiefland area. And, you know, it can happen.
Wait a minute, that's not Chiefland there, that was 10 miles north of Chiefland.
Hi.
I wish.
Councilman Evans, do you have a question?
Yes, I do, and I know I'm gonna get this question from people. Who's paying for these escorts for these people? Are they gonna have to pay, or is the taxpayer picking up the tab?
We don't want,
We don't ask for it.
we don't have escorts, so they're not gonna be allowed.
No, that's it. I didn't read that, and I don't know if someone else did in the statute that we were required to chaperone them. I think it was just said that you could, and I'm hearing the superintendent, assistant superintendent, and other board members, I'm reading body language. It won't happen.
So they won't be allowed on the property at all?
Only for IEP meetings or in the office, so.
And during those times, there is a, one of the
Yeah,
employees
they
is
wouldn't
already
be
here.
chaperoned when they come to a meeting about their child at school, but like to come to a basketball game, no, we're not chaperoned.
For a birthday party in one of the teachers' classrooms.
Okay. I guess you all know, the question will be out there.
Yeah.
Okay, we do not need any action on this item. We're going to dismiss there. And we will take care of those things, including, I think, Mr. Edison echoed Mr. Asbell's statements about the signage. Then we can move along with the remainder of the agenda. Y'all are welcome to stay. We'll kind of be quiet for y'all to exit and go about your business.
Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know, Mr. Philpott played right field over there in softball, but that's where he used to go down. He was big, Mr. Philpott. Hey, you could, hey, I did that at 5 feet 1 inch tall. I couldn't even see the top of the gym.
Mr. Edison, since we're talking about the signs, did you get any feedback on the seatbelt signs actually in the parking lot?
Yes, sir, I've surveyed all the schools. I don't have all the schools answered, but instead of just talking about student parking, we talked about all the schools. And I'm getting an inventory in from every one of them about signs.
Okay, and just so y'all know that those that don't have signs, we will be getting those type of signs up too.
Clicking the ticket.
Yeah, something like that.
That will work. Okay, moving right along, item E, board policy review, chapter 5. We did change that, didn't we, to the contract on there. I didn't put my arrows on here. Okay. I think that's still Mr. Edison.
Yes, it is.
Okay. You're still up, Mr. Edison. Too many distractions from the far end of the table. Too many distractions from the far end of the table. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Members of the board, you have with you, as you know, we've been hard at work on our last board meeting in which we had a termination of the contract. And I think we have broken ground in record time on the execution of the coming to agreement on a new contract for Wilson Middle High School. And we have Mr. Duffy here from ACA Corporation, and ACA Construction, excuse me. And he is here, and just to let you know, we have entered into an agreement, the contract, he has agreed with us on this, and it's here for your approval, and you can ask.
You're in the hot seat, so I'm sure there'll be some questions coming down right there.
Mr. Hastings or myself, any questions?
We still on a GMP?
Yes, sir, wait, this is the contract for pre-construction services.
Gotcha.
Okay, and he still has to bring into a surprise for your GMP. That's the second half. So you don't, we're not to the GMP yet. This just allows him to go out, solicit bids, put the package together for GMP.
But we hope to get there quickly.
Right.
Still hot?
Well, the attorney pointed out to me that this thing you gave us, about half the pages are missing. There's no two The last half
of the document is not,
Well, I don't think that's what it's.
not in place.
Was it a,
I think it's just a copy
front and
here.
back? Yeah.
There's no seat,
No signature.
No, just like this.
there's no 10,
Evidently, we didn't get front and back
No
copies.
seats.
no 14.
That's
you
what
read
happened.
between the lines?
Between the pages.
Between the pages.
People have told me I read between the lines.
That's what happened.
Okay, I don't have your.
Yeah,
He's got the original.
we only had 2 originals, and they were front and back copies, and evidently we just copied one side and then did the front and back.
So not, those papers not important?
They are, they are.
I bet that's the money papers, leave them out.
Okay, it's when they copied it, didn't copy double-sided, copy single-sided. That's what happened.
And I can go make them real quick if y'all want that. Would you want to have that?
I think that would probably be a good idea if we're going to approve something.
While she's doing that, if you guys need to go on, I'm waiting, I mean, keep the meeting going.
Okay, he's fixing to go over a chapter in the board policy, and that could take 15 minutes.
That's, I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm here to work.
Counselor, can we amend the amendment?
I think we could, everybody's got fair notice of what we're doing. We're not gonna have a sunshine violation. So I think we can proceed and move back. We'll be all right.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Edison, board policy review, chapter 5.
All right, members of the board, we're going to go through chapter 5 today. And some of these you're already familiar with because you made recent changes to them. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, 5.01 is just discriminatory statement on admission to students. And just FYI, there's some language I have to check, and as Mr. Turner is familiar with the ECHA report, this language changes from time to time. So as language needs to change, I'll bring that to you. 5.011 talks about foreign exchange students and admission to them in Lee County. Just FYI, I had a call on this week. And we talked about this policy to a parent desiring to enroll a foreign exchange student. So, 5.02. Sir?
In the middle of the year?
Well, it's not in the middle of the year because when you receive this, it's got to be at least 4 weeks prior to the student's enrollment date. So she will be preparing for next school year. But every now and then we have to go back and use the policy. That's 5.02 is one that we use quite a bit, and it has to do with student assignment. And a couple of things we point out to you is that, remember, you amended Plan 2 to allow the superintendent to assign a student to school if in the best interest of the school district. That's been used less than 3 times, 2 to 3 times. It doesn't happen very often.
Question, please, sir. Do we require them to transport them all the way to the school or to a bus stop that then services that school?
I don't know what number you're
No,
talking
parent 2, it says, if assignment of attendance is desired, the requesting line must be submitted to his or her approval. Transportation to and from the school service must be first by the parent or guardian.
Yeah, we don't, they have to get them to the bus stop
Okay,
at.
all right, that's,
Now, we do have some that drive to the school.
I understand that, but I just, just,
Yeah.
just for my information.
Just get to
To the nearest bus stop.
Yes, sir. Okay, thank you for that.
I do want to bring attention to Corinne 4. This talks about 18 years of age and graduation. Graduation means a lot of different things nowadays. And one thing that we also have to check in here is the 18 credit option. So it's not only the 24 credit graduation option, it's the 18 credit graduation option we have to work with.
You know, anything else, Dr. Beck, that's the.
I do want to bring your attention to number 6. This is another one that we use all the time or work with all the time. It is allowing students to come on a temporary basis with a power of attorney. And a lot of times we'll put this, allow a student to come on, use a power of attorney on a temporary, we write them a letter saying you can enroll the remainder of the school year on a power of attorney. After that, you need to get a court document. Okay? Now, sometimes they're living with a relative, and if they do that, then we do the power of attorney and the, go back up here to prevent 2, because the parents live in out of school district zone requests as well. So, but those are the ones we use quite a bit. That's referred to. 5.021, we recently reviewed for homeschool stuff, so we just looked at that last week or a couple of months ago. Homeless students. So y'all just looked at that policy here not long ago. 5.03 is student attendance and absences. First off, a comment. Students, I guess, the failure rate in our schools, most of our students fail because of attendance, is not because of school grades. Okay? I do want you to put your finger right here, just a minute, because we're going to come back to this. This is the second paragraph on number 1. Okay? But this essentially says that students allow a certain number of absences within the school year, elementary, middle, and high. And if you miss that and you don't have a good cause, or you don't pass your exams, then you won't receive a fail grade. That's the summation of the policy. Our next policy is 5.04, requirements for original entry. And then 2 is where we have a conflict. And if you go back to the previous policy, the second paragraph, and in 2 it says, permission to kindergarten child must have attained the age of 5 years on or before September 1st school year. Okay, so that's to get into kindergarten. But you come back over here on this policy here, which is statute, and it says that mandatory attendance, compulsory attendance, starts at 6 years of age by February 1st. So in our schools with kindergarten, the compulsory attendance in our attendance policy kind of doesn't jive up for the required education. So, and this is something, counselor, that I'll probably have you look at and see if you can find a solution for. This is one of our elementary schools. They point this out, and this is a loophole, shall I say. And I don't know if there's a way around the loop or through it. Or if you want to investigate it. So,
The way I understand it is that kindergarten is not a required grade level. They have to attain the age of 5 by September the 1st, but they're not required by law to go to kindergarten. But by age 6, they're required to go to school, and that would be the 1st grade.
This is my first look at this, but that's my interpretation as well.
So I don't see a conflict. It's just that one is required by law, but kindergarten is not required that the student has to go to kindergarten.
Well, 1003.21 back in policy 5.03 says that if you're going to turn 6 by February 1st, attendance is compulsory. That's the way I read that first sentence.
Yes.
You will have attained the age of 6 years by February 1st of any school
February,
year.
September.
By February 1st of any school year. Or who are older than 6 years of age. So if you're going to turn 6 by February 1, so if you're only 5 on September 1, but you will turn 6 by February 1st, I think attendance is compulsory under 1003.21.
So like the first grade or the kindergarten?
Kindergarten.
Whatever grade
Yeah.
they were in.
But our policy says kindergarten is mandatory,
Where?
right
that's
here.
in 5.04, and there is,
But then the follow-up to that is you don't send a 3 or 4-year-old to kindergarten.
Right.
You've got to be 5 as of
Yeah.
September 1. I think these can be read together, and I don't think that they're in conflict.
But if, I do want you to research this, but if it's not statutory that they have to attend kindergarten until they reach 6 by February 1st, then is it wrong for us to have a kindergarten program as mandatory if it's not statutorily? Are we stepping above state law?
On my first read on this is no, because we don't make you go to kindergarten until you have turned 5 years of age as of September 1.
But can we do that?
I think that we can, because if you turn 5 years of age by September 1, you will have turned 6 years of age
Not necessarily by February 1st.
6 months later.
August 30th, you could turn 5, and so it wouldn't be till the next year.
I'll look into it.
Okay.
Well, I really don't want to do away with kindergarten as mandatory. I like that in there. I think
Is our issue that we're having students that are enrolled that aren't
That aren't
attending?
coming.
And we
Here's the
have
answer.
no teeth to back it up.
Exactly.
And we've never, and that's, we've never read this paragraph the way he's talking.
You can't get into kindergarten until you've turned 5 years of age of September 1.
Correct.
Okay, so the door's closed to you until you're at least that old.
Correct.
However, if you're one of those older kids with a later birthday and you are gonna be 6 by the time February 1st rolls around, you have to enroll in that school year.
Okay. We may need to bring this back to you in better verbiage than what we have.
Well, I also think there's expected legislation coming to make it forward.
Well,
Not being universal pre-K, but can attend public kindergarten at the age of 4. I think I read that somewhere in some of the upcoming legislation that's being looked at. So we might want to keep that in consideration as well, Mr. Superintendent, if we're looking at those numbers.
my concern too is, when we do have all these kids that are absent and we have the truancy and are they keeping up? Is it a real problem, or are they going to see all these kids? What's happening with that?
We have never pressured kindergarten. Now, once they're in first grade, yes, we do. But because there's not been any teeth or any, you know, like, yeah, you can't fail kindergarten just for, there's certain standards you have to meet. And if you meet those standards, you get promoted. If you don't, you don't. But, yeah, I forget what, there's 38 standards and they have to meet 30 out of the 38 to go to first grade. But there's no attendance part required.
If I may also, the superintendent, recalling in earlier times when we dealt with the truancy issues, the judges were very reluctant to really do anything to the parents for truancy.
For 5 years. Probably somebody that's been in elementary more than I have could address that better, Ms. Dean.
Yes.
Do you think there's any teeth in kindergarten attendance other than passing the standards?
Well, I was never given the impression that David had shared here. It would have been nice to have teeth. I was just telling Barb that it's the setting stage for parents to understand that this is vital for their kids to be here. If we had some teeth, we might have better attendance. Because if they go into kindergarten and they think it's okay to stay home and take days off, like it's a daycare, then that sets the stage for their entire school career.
Exactly.
And I think it kind of is an alert that there's problems, there's issues, there's, problems at home. And so, I mean, I really believe in addressing that. And, and the standards and the things that they have to do in kindergarten now, and the teachers, they don't need to miss. I mean, there are so many things they're expected to do.
Yes.
Okay. This is something that happens that y'all don't know about. Laura Brown is our truancy officer, and I work with her, and Patrick can attest to this, and Max Long, he's been at many of these meetings. We're fairly aggressive on this, and I can't tell you the numbers of kids that we've taken to court. Again, like Superintendent illustrated, the statute still ties the hands of the judge. And we do our due diligence, and I can't say that we've never made a difference, but it is, I don't want to say a game, but it's a process that has to be played out. And very often, you know, the process is not in our favor. And that we have to go through and jump through all these hoops and do all this and stuff like that. And, you know, I can't tell you how many kids that turned 16 and dropped out, and we've had them in court for 2 years. You know, they go to homeschool, and then there's another set of laws that you gotta follow through homeschool. But it is a process that we go through and do and do and do and do. And we are trying to do due diligence. We have made a difference in some of these kids' lives, but it is a statute that does not have teeth in it that we would like to see that the judge likes to see. That's my opinion.
And it takes a lot of time, and a lot of time away from, wow. I didn't know that it went to court that much or that often.
Yeah, I mean, Max, I don't know if you will.
We're doing like once a quarter, basically.
We took 6 not long ago.
Well, a lot of times, as I recall too, you get them 2/3 of the way through the process, ready to take them to court, and all of a sudden, they start coming to school for a while.
Right.
And they'll come to school for a while, that process gets dropped because they are attending school, and then just as soon as they require amount of time goes by, it gradually starts, you know, with it again.
And truancy is on unexcused absences, not excused absences. And then there's a floating window in there, within a 30-day window and a 90-day window. So it's a game that window moves, and they know where that window is. So,
So bottom line is we need to research this and tighten up this policy. That's what we're saying?
Well, we need to understand exactly what we can do, and we'll research it, and if we can tighten it, we will. If we don't have the ability to it, we'll work on legislation. Thank you.
5.05, admission to kindergarten. Yes, I'm sorry, sir.
5.04,
Yes, sir.
I'm not a heathen, but under 4A2, baptism, what if not Christian?
Well, this is these are just documents that per statute are.
But do we have anything, something like that would contain to people who are not Christian?
Well, I'm going to use any.
I don't know what it
It's just
is,
one,
what
I
kind of
think you
thing
can use
that
any
is.
of those.
Yeah, and like I say, these are just things that are allowable by statute.
But my point is, that to me points out specifically to Christian religion. What if they're Muslim? I mean, what kind of certificates are, I mean, I don't know if they baptize or not.
No, they're probably not going to have one of those certificates, yeah.
I mean, like I said, I'm not a heathen, but
I just think that these have any of one of these, so it's just one example that they could use. So
5 or 6.
I don't think we're limiting anybody on anything, so they could bring in their insurance policy.
and like number 4, a Bible record.
I think maybe what Mr. Philbott might be saying is we could consider having a 7th category that said, other recognized religious documentation or something along those lines.
Like with the contemporary Bible, we'd have the contemporary Quran.
Or just say some other recognized religious documentation.
Something along those lines. Just to cover all the bases.
I'm just trying to save us from problems later on down the road, because it's gonna happen one day in the weekend.
It will happen somewhere in Florida. But I mean, this was taken out of Florida statute, and we can certainly do another paragraph to add it. I don't think we can add to that particular paragraph because we can't change the statute, but we could add another paragraph in there.
You know, it's like the man in the movie about, he went to talk to the prophet, preacher, and he went to talk to the priest, and he went to talk to the rabbi, covered all his bases before he went into war, so, I think what we need to do is we need to cover all our bases.
And now, council, I'm going to wrap this up. I don't know what other recognized means. So we'll have to help us on some of that.
Right, and I'm pulling this off the cuff here,
Right.
but I will certainly check and see if there's some other language. I will tell you that the recommended practice when I discuss this issue with other school board attorneys around the state, the best practice is get the kid into school, start providing services, and figure out the documentation
And I agree
later
with
on.
that.
That's always the goal, is let's go ahead and get them in class, and then we'll figure out the paperwork after.
Thank you.
Yes. 5.05 is requirements in admission to kindergarten.
I have a question on number 2. I know these vaccinations is a heated debate right now. Is there, if a parent is just adamantly against some type of vaccinations, measles or whatever, things like that, do we have the ability that, I mean, what's the process there for that?
There's a law and a policy that tells them how they can, if they just don't like it, don't agree with it, there's an exemption, and it's got to be an exemption on religious beliefs. That's what the law says, I believe.
Do we require our students to get shot for measles?
Yes, sir. I just had that conversation with a parent 2 weeks ago. But that's a statute. 5.06 is admission to first grade. .07 is for granting permission to students to leave the school campus. .08 is student control. .09 has to deal with student detention, search, and seizure. And I do want to point out, if you look at Corinne 4, it talks about metal detectors and scanning devices and such like that. That came into a statutory requirement here a few years back, or several years back, no, 2, that we had to have this in policy. We don't have them. But there might be instances where there's a situation on school and we may call a local law enforcement that does. You know, so it's not out of the realm of possibility or reality, but if we don't have those, we are required to have a policy for it. .10 is the suspension of students and the process for that. It also has to deal with if you look down at Corinne 6, felony charges. And that's something we do have to get into a couple of times a year.
That would include like, I mean, I'm sure it does, like, maybe they change county school?
Yes,
I mean, no, change county.
Yes.
That still would apply to that people, that person?
Yes, sir. And you can take, and I'm going to, again, this is a kudos to our law enforcement friends, Max Long and our SROs. Kids come in, it's very frequent, they're the first line of defense, if you want, so to speak. When we have kids that come in from out of counties, they can find out information about felonies and stuff like that a lot faster than we get notification. And they work very diligently in our schools, and a lot of this is mostly high school stuff, to make sure that our administrators are aware of any complications involving student enrollment. So. .11 is expulsion of students. This is one that y'all practice too frequently.
How do we know if a student has been suspended in another county and comes to us?
We get their records, and you can see on the records is a copy of the fiscal report, and they check that.
And how quickly do we get those records?
It's generally within days. That's right. Because we have to have the records no matter appropriate placement.
Gotcha.
So most of the time, that can either be a electronic transfer, or it can be a fax, or it can be a scan and email. But the records are generally happen within days. Because it's a whole other process, and which Dr. Mack was here to talk about this. We have an audit review. We can't unenroll a student until another school has requested records. And the same goes throughout the county, and all this has to do with accountability.
Gotcha.
You know, and the graduation rates and stuff like that. So the kid doesn't leave us until we know where they're going. And the same is true if they're coming from Marion County. So if they want to come here, they're going to get a record request. And most of the schools in the state, at least, are very, very expedient with providing us this information. And they're required to, on the student enrollment thing, to tell us if there's any issues.
The only time I've run into an issue as principal was out of state where the student owed the school money or books, and that school would refuse to send the records until they got their money. But that's out of state. I've never had that in state.
And we've had to have some counselors intervene. So, 5.12 is judicial review, and this is the parents' process if they don't agree with the expulsion order or want to appeal the expulsion order. This is the process. 5.13 is zero tolerance for school-related crimes, and this is pure statute.
It's really sad that we have to have a policy like this.
Yes, sir. gun-free schools. So, I mean, kind of redundant in some senses, but we're still required. .15 is the administration of medication during school hours, and this was changed back in 2010. This is one we really seek counsel of the school health department and our nurses, because they're the ones that are on the front lines with this, and they're the ones that review this policy all the time, really make the adjustments.
And send accolades to our school health people. I think it would just overwhelm you to know the amount of students they see in a day and the amount of medications they dispense. It's tremendous.
And the accuracy they do it.
I remember one time at Williston, that's when Mr. Turner was there, he left, so I was principal for a day, you know how that went over. We had a little kid that was just wandering around campus. So they called me, he was in the lunchroom. What he was diabetic, and he needed sugar. But is there any, I mean, do we know those kind of people in school? Do we know who they are that are insulin dependent?
Yes, sir. I mean, and it has become, I think, a process that our folks have become more and more aware of. Yes, they are quite aware of every, and there's a range of diet needs and requirements. And they know not only the students, they also know the staff.
Okay. And that was, I didn't know what was wrong with him, but the guy was smart, he was all right, but I thought he was like crazy. I did.
I thought you were crazy too.
But he gave his mark, he was in good shape.
Freshman floor.
Eye protection devices, and this just kind of goes without things, explanation. Student injuries, they need to be reported and filed appropriately. The legal name of the student, there's a process you have to follow if you want to change the name of the student. Educational records of pupil and adult students, I think we just updated this one on 2015, so this one was just reviewed by you. In 5.20, the record information was just reviewed by you. in January. Married and pregnant students, the law allows a little bit different attendance requirements for pregnant students, but that's essentially what that says. This defines the school day for pupils and for FTE purposes. It's 5.22. 5.23 is the student identification. It used to be that the Social Security number was a required student identification number. That is not a mandatory thing. We don't use the Social Security number for student identification number anymore. It is required by certain Florida statutes for like future scholarship and stuff like that. So we've elected it optional, but it's not a requirement. Process is to follow when assigning students detention. Grade reduction is punishment. In other words, we can't do it. .26 is a policy review, are required to review every 3 years, and I think it's coming up for this year. That's by statute, review this policy. So you'll be seeing this again this summer. 5.27 deals with disruptive acts on student campuses. 5.28 come to effect a few years back. It's another one of those policies we're required to have students affected with serious communicable diseases and what processes and policies we need to follow. And also with the exemption from physical education, the state says it's required, but the state also says it should be exempt. 5.30 is one that we really like, and because our SROs, kudos to them, they keep on track of all the different various gang affiliations and activities, and we don't allow them. 5.31 student dress code, and that's addressed in the student code of conduct. 5.32, you just reviewed this last month.
Can I ask a question about 5.31?
Yes, sir.
Another thing that probably down the road we may have to deal with, what would happen if a young man decided that he wanted to come to school in females clothing?
The key word is disruptive.
Okay.
And that has been happening. And the key word is, does it create a disruptive environment?
We've already dealt with it.
Gotcha, okay.
I hope not too often in the future.
Right.
Now, 5.33 has to do with vehicle used by students in arriving and leaving school grounds. 5.34 has to do with insurance, and this is something you all approve every year. 5.35 is a valedictorian salutatory, and I didn't know if you want to bring that up for review again this year. No?
I would say that.
Not this
I would say that,
Not this moment, please.
Right along,
Again,
Mr. Edison.
5.36 is incidental.
That is not to be reviewed again until 2017.
5.36 is incidental supplies. In other words, not penalize kids for not having some stuff that are suggested for purchase. 5.37 is student grievances, and here's, I'm going to bring this to you this summer. This is also stated in the handbook, and I'm going to ask you your desire. Do you want to keep this as a policy here and in the handbook, or do you just want to keep it in the handbook? So we'll bring that back to you later. 5.38 is bullying and harassment, and I think you just updated this one on in 2014.
You know, I think this is a great thing that we have this and we add this bullying policy in here. But I get a lot of telephone calls, which I just refer them to the school, you know, and the principal, and then yesterday, just sitting in an office. I mean, parents really take advantage of this and say, my kid's being bullied and not, you know, and I'm not saying it's not happening, but I notice that they're just kind of taking it, using it as a crutch or as an excuse rather than really following through or really going to the correct channels, and then, you know, what is their child doing too, but,
Well, you're right, and we knew that there would be these type of situations, and I think there's more workshops and all nowadays to try to educate people the difference between bullying and harassing, or, you know, aggravation and all, and what the specific wording of what bullying is, instead of just because I don't like your hairstyle or something.
right.
You know, you irritate me by the way you sit in the chair, you act like a thug. You know, that's not bullying. And so there are more workshops nowadays to try to address the specifics of what is actually bullying. And so,
Yeah.
but it's gonna be something that we have to work through. But just, all you can do is refer them back to the school.
Right, yeah, that's what I do.
And I just want to make a comment, this is up to our principals. Whenever there's an allegation of bullying, there's a process that has to be followed. And it's very laborious and time exhaustive.
And
Whether or
then-
not it's substantiated or not, they have to go through this process, and it's required by the state to go on and say bullying unfounded or bullying founded. And there's all these different things, but it is a laborious process to follow.
Right, and I do understand that, and I think that's a great thing, if there's, of course, if it's happening, that needs to be stopped and we go through, but a lot of cases, it just really is so time consuming and takes away from real teaching time and things that are so necessary. That's what I see, because the first thing they're gonna do is, they're bullying, I mean, they're
Just
just
calling a
going
kid a
to
bad name is not bullying, and that's what I
Right.
do all the time.
Right,
It's a shame to me that we've got to devote 12 pages in our policy to just bullying and
Yeah,
harassing.
this is one that had to be sent to the state.
I understand completely.
And 5.39 came to you not long ago, 2010, I think is when it was updated. This is, we had to have a policy for seclusion and physical restraint on students. And that's another process that we have to follow up the documentation on. It's another laborious process. 5.40 is dating, violence, and abuse. It's another required policy.
You have to approve their dates?
Yeah, all dates have to be approved by administration nowadays.
Don't let them date till next one.
Best thing to do is let them date with the grant.
yeah, that's it, that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments regarding?
Feel free to call myself.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for doing this.
Okay, now back up.
He wouldn't go get the productive stuff up.
Okay. As we know.
He gets back in and say, well, that concludes the construction project.
At the new price. We need to add in at the new price.
What's with all the spring pastels?
Wishful thinking. In honor of FFA week.
It's springtime.
I'm in honor of the shirt that was cleaned in the closet.
This is what my wife laid out.
Okay, I appreciate,
Thanks for coming.
everything, and the new price and the signing the contract at the new standard was awesome. Thank y'all very much. Next item.
Okay,
Mr. Ed.
back to where we were, Mr. Edison.
Okay. Board members, we have the new contract with ACA Construction
With all the pages.
with all pages this time. Again, this is the pre-construction phase of the thing. You get yet to approve and enter into a contract with guaranteed maximum price. So this is for your approval.
Okay, so the pre-price is just basically the bids, because that the land work and all that permits, everything's basically been done,
Yes.
correct? And then what's the time frame that we'll look for coming back with another contract on,
The GMP.
yeah, GMP.
Mr. Duffy,
We're-
you go.
Yeah, we're working on that. We started working on that even last week, working with Paul Stressing, the architect, and we're pushing towards, and we're also soliciting a lot of new different subs that didn't bid this the first time around for whatever reasons. And we're in great hopes that will be significantly less than what your GMP came in, last time, and we're, also putting together, different suggested value engineering things with Paul Stressing as well. And we're completely in hopes of starting in, May, pushing dirt.
Let me
And
just,
so we would have a GMP before then, and ultimately, we can't start doing any type of work without the approved GMP, but.
the superintendent and Mr. Philpott and Mr. Duffy and members of his team met with the Williston Middle School, Williston High School staff yesterday morning to talk with them about different things that are out there, make sure that they can hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, and about the timeline and where we're at. And Mr. Duffy explained that this is a 14-month project, and his team's committal to get this project done for opening the school in August of 2016. That's the goal.
Yes, yeah, that's what we're here to work with you
And that's our
guys.
timeline.
And we've been in, unfortunate situations where the timeline starts getting, pinched on us. One of the schools we did over in Marion County, several years ago, because of removing the tortoises. It was supposed to be a 12-month project that we ended up initially having. The school unfortunately opens up the 1st of August, and that never pushes back and changes. But fortunately for that school as well, we did get it opened up that August, and we ended up having it constructed in 9 months. So, with a 2-story, 100,000 square foot building, basically we work 7 days a week. That's kind of the business that we get in when it comes to schools and schools opening, and ultimately working with Jeff and Mr. Hastings and their staff, and you all, we looked at, we could, realistic schedule is 14 months, and I think, we'll be able to have that substantially complete and have you guys moved in there. We're hoping to have you in there in June, so you have the proper time to be moving your staff over and in, working things out. And that's what we're committed to, and that's, we're gonna put, you're gonna see a very hard effort, and we're gonna do everything in our means to make that happen.
And we've had many meetings already, more meetings with Mr. Duffy than in the last week and a half than we've had with every team all together. I think Mr. Duffy can just about get to the point where he can play my children's parents right now. But,
Well, ultimately, let me just say,
Vice versa.
or vice versa.
really, we're 100% committed to this thing. When we presented to you guys, and unfortunately, we were selected number 2, and that's fine. One thing we do, that's all we do. You don't see the owner of the company like you do with some of the other type of firms. We actually started 14 years ago, and it was basically as Marion County started to grow, and we started building the larger new campuses. And unfortunately, those larger new campuses come with larger dollars. And the 3 companies that made up ACA at that time were basically over 40, had already done work in Marion County for the last 40 years. We had to come together as 3 just for the bonding to be able to do the new, and basically our first job we ever did was the new Forest High School over there. That's when we came together as a group, and that was a $36 million school back 14 years ago. One of our big out-of-town competitors built that same school 3 years later in an outside county and things, and it was basically, built for like $62 million. That's just the harsh facts of the same school. We did a prototype middle school. The same school was built in our county, 2 different firms altogether. You know, and we actually were $1.5 million less for the same exact school. That's just harsh facts that's happened over the years, and we do bring a value that ultimately brings you guys more school, is our feelings of it. I know we felt like, I mean, we beat ourselves up after that presentation a little bit, because we felt like our message maybe went to you guys that we wouldn't be spending all of the money necessary, you know, that the state gives us. I mean, we're here to give you as much school as absolutely available for all those monies. And as we get closer to, you know, midway through and we can add, you know, another little thing, we're gonna add another little thing to make sure all these dollars are spent. And that's our goal, to work with you guys and this team. But that's how we started, you know, 13 years ago, or 14 years ago now. Was because we saw larger out-of-town big firms coming in here to do the larger projects. That's what we've done. We've built schools. Our parents were the school builders before. Just because the school building used to be only $1 million, you know, $1 million wing, you know, we were always doing all those things. We knew all the maintenance people. We knew, you know, all the staffing, you know. And basically the school board members are the ones that came to us going, can you guys just, you know, you guys have always done things for us the last 40 years. Couldn't you guys come together to do this Forest High School? And originally, and that's what our outside competitors thought too, is it was just going to be a you know, one and done type school, and it was very successful. I was basically just a very small ownership, had no voting rights when I started with the company. Since then, 4 years later, I bought out one of the A's in ACA Construction Group, and I'm the managing partner of ACA. I'm not as great spoken as Ken Osley is, with really trying to say what I'm, you know, trying to get across. But ultimately, we're here
Yesterday,
for you.
we talked about them, Mr. Duffy being Moses and Ken Osley being Aaron.
Yeah.
One's the worker, one's the mouthpiece, as we expressed.
And I'm not the mouthpiece, so you know, I'm a worker, and you'll see me all the time, and ultimately, when I leave here, I'll give you another one of my cards. My cell phone's on there. We're always available, you know, and I've always said that to my different clients and things too. I put my cell phone on there. It's not like I just give you a card that I don't give to anybody. My cell phones, I'm available all the time. It doesn't, day or night, if there's something on your mind, don't hesitate to call me. You know,
I will say this.
I'll give you the answer.
It was available to the superintendent about 15 minutes after our last meeting.
We were aware of that conversation, but thank you, Mr. Duffy, for your words there, and I can assure you as the chair and the rest of my fellow board members, as quickly and as expeditiously as you get things that are required and information on to the superintendent and his staff, they bring them to the board, that they will be acted on as judiciously and as quickly as a turnaround will be possible. So with that said, board members, you want to do it? Okay, yes, we'll do it.
Stuff, I want you to know that this board member appreciates the way you attacked us, since we contacted you. That school is very important to my community, to our community. And I want you to know that. But I also want you to know that I really appreciate the way you attacked us. And of course, I know you didn't make money, and I want you to
Well, no, but let me tell you too, we feel we are a part of this community. I mean, we're Marion County, Marion County, Williston.
Our neighbor.
We're right there next to each other. This is what we consider as our community, and we look to, you know, to help out this whole.
I just want you to know I appreciate the way you attacked this thing, and I just want you to keep doing it.
Yeah, the other thing too, just so you know, I mean, one thing we do present on, I don't do any more than 4 to 5 major projects in a given year. I mean, right now I'm down to, you know, 2. So you've got my full attention. I mean, and as a company and as I, you know, run and own the company, in all reality, I can't look and stand before you guys and anybody else I ever present in front of and tell you you can have my all if I'm doing more than 4 schools. 5 is a stretch. But that's just that's not what we do. We're here to give you our undivided attention and make this thing as successful as we can.
Well, let's see if we can help out. Mr. Chair?
I make a motion that we accept the contract for construction management services for the new Williston Middle High School for ACA construction.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion regarding the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. You got yourself some new business.
All right, thank you. We look forward to getting you a GMP that you guys can live with.
Thank you.
Thank you. Like I said, do my card too, to see you guys.
Okay, while they handing that out, Ms. Pam, do you have any corrections or anything regarding the minutes of February?
You are thankfully aware of how much money we have, right?
Yes, I do. Okay.
Not surprising, right?
This time the chair is seeking a motion to approve of the minutes.
I so move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Ms. Pam, concerning the consent agenda, are there any corrections, additions, deletions? Okay. The chair is seeking a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second on the approval of the consent agenda. We'll start with Phil Fox. Do you have any questions?
I think I'm in good shape, Mr. Chair.
All right, so thank you very much, sir. Mr. Asbell?
Okay.
Thank you for reiterating.
Okay. Ms. Brookins?
I'm happy to see these A schools.
Amen.
That's right.
Amen.
Very happy to see that and happy to have that money, that recognition money to teachers and staff.
Very good. Chair has no questions, comments at this time. So, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The motion carries. Are we going to omit H or, no, I guess we better read. Mr. Superintendent?
I would too want to congratulate Chieftain High School and all of Chieftain High School for obtaining the grade of A. They were 71 points above the required level, and for them not to get to that because of the technicality was just not right. And I want to send out a sincere thank you to Barb Rivers and Michelle Crawford. Now, a lot of people worked on getting the information together. I think Blake and Michael Holman and Christy McElroy at the school. Different ones certainly had their share, but Barb Rivers and Michelle Crawford are the ones that put the packet together and to make sure that the state understood exactly what we were trying to get across to them to say. And so through their efforts, primarily through their efforts, we got this B changed to an A, which did gain Chiefland Middle High School $72,200, something to that effect. Now that was wonderful. The other thing that I would like to recognize is that all of us are true public servants, and that's what we do. And we care about people and the community and so forth. And that was exemplified by Reese Stockman and Ted Alexander. That's important, but this is real. I'm going to get to that. Thank you for that. Reese was out fishing on his boat last weekend, and he come across a boat that was sinking and capsized and was sinking. And this was a prominent family from Gainesville, builders from Gainesville family. And as the boat was going down, there was a 2-month-old baby on that boat. And he radioed for help from Ted Alexander, who come out with his boat. And together they rescued the people, and that was just one of those really wonderful things that our people do. So I appreciate their efforts so much. We have been waiting for this. We knew that the governor had said that he was going to do an executive order and concerning the suspended that to the executive order, and a copy of it, did you give?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so, I'm not gonna to read it because you can read it, but basically what he's saying is that this is a redundant test that is not necessary and we can do away with it. And of course, I think there's other things, and some of them are being worked on, like the PERT test, for example, to require every student to take the PERT test, whether they have any intentions of going to college. We have enough other tests to decide whether they're college ready or not, without adding the PERT test, which they did 4 or 5 years ago. But anyway, this is a start. I hope it's not all that the governor, DOE, and the legislatures do. I'm certainly anticipating more action on the amount of tests that we have, but this is certainly a welcome start. Any questions from the board? Thank you. That's
Thank
all
you,
I have.
Mr. Superintendent. More comments? I guess start with the counselor. Do you have any
No, sir.
earth-shattering information?
I shared the information from our latest School Board Attorneys Association meeting. We do that quarterly, it's very valuable, and thought I should let you know the types of information and topics that are going on. So I'll continue to do that.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
We
Ms.
did
Brookins?
appreciate that.
Ms. Brookins? More
Well,
comments?
That's, I certainly enjoyed his report and, seeing those things. Those were all critical and very, very important. I was kind of surprised to see with the 504 and the, yeah, right, that there were, more of the IEPs. I really thought there were more 504s out there, but that was the whole state of Florida.
My recollection is he was talking about national statistics.
Oh, is that what it was?
I think so.
Yeah. Dr. Hall, in Levy County, what's the statistics on that? More 504 or the IEP?
We have more students that have IEPs. We have, it's about 1,300. And student 504 plans is roughly 350. And that's a fluid number, of course.
Yeah,
As kids
right.
come and go, but we have more kids with IEPs than our students.
Thank you. And I was just going to ask about the Chiefland, the old tennis court. How's that progress going and what's happening with that?
We cleaned that up months ago.
So it's all clean and all done?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, good. I just, wanted to let our paper hear that and say that and make sure it's all clear, because we get a lot of comments about that in Chiefland, about the old tennis courts, and that it's all clear, it's all gone, it's not an eyesore, it's a wonderful ball field. Is that correct?
Well, people have been parking on it.
Okay.
People are parking where it was.
Good, okay. Thank you, that's all I have.
All right, Mr. Coward?
I just want to thank everybody for attending the gala, and supporting the gala, and wanted to say kudos to our distinguished
Yes.
Levy County alumnus, Mr. Phil Platt. So give him a round of applause.
What that really means is that every graduate from these kind of schools has a chance to be that. What that means now.
We can only hope that they can live up to your
Oh,
standards.
yeah.
So,
Some people know me, Mr. Coward. Let's try what Mr. Turner's thinking right
No comment.
But it was a very successful event, and I'm very thankful. So having former Speaker Benz and our own state rep, Charlie Stone, two people that have been very supportive of us, especially Representative Stone for all he's done for us and getting this new middle high school money pushed through. So, and I think that's, it's FFA week, so, I wouldn't be the person I would be without my FFA advisor and otherwise people that I've seen and followed in their footsteps, so I appreciate it. So, forefront, so.
You might have to quit while you're ahead, Mr. Coward. Mr. Asbell?
As Mr. Coward said, it is FFA week, and I'm very fortunate that one of my FFA advisors is here with me at this table, Mr. Hastings. When I was a freshman in high school, was my FFA advisor. And it was a pivotal year in my life that we won't go into all that right now. But Bob Hastings has been with me in a lot of pivotal years, and that was, if I had known 30 years ago that I'd still have to deal with him, who knows? But that being said, at my right sits an FFA advisor who was very important to my wife. When we were in high school, I kind of despised that bunch, and I wound up married to one of those. But my wife absolutely adores this man and considers him almost a second father. And as I was getting my American farmer degree, and I call it that instead of an American FFA degree because when I was in FFA, we were proud to say the word farmer. When I was getting my American farmer degree, the ag advisor at Bronson High School at the time, because I had not been his student, showed no interest in helping me. But the man from Williston was willing to help me. He got me the forms I needed, offered to help me, and helped me fill it out. And he also talked to Eli Beasley and Chiefland for me, and the two of them came together. If I hadn't had their help, I would not have gotten that degree that was so important because of no support at home. And what I like to point out is in Levy County, every FFA advisor in Levy County is every FFA member's advisor. We all kind of look out for each other. We fight like the devil against each other when we compete against each other, but we love each other and we support each other. And I know I was fortunate in my FFA days to win a few awards, and they fought me bitterly up till that point, but when I won the big awards, they were always on my side, and that means a lot to me. I also want to let all of you know that Bronson FFA's annual food fest is this Friday night. I want to encourage y'all to come on out. We'd love to see you there. And then the only other thing I have is one of my sons is having a procedure today, and I'm going to need to stay relatively close to that, so I will not be able to make it to Yankeetown. It's nothing against you.
Since you're there, let me interrupt just for a moment. Because of sandnet infestation, we're canceling the Yankeetown visit.
Really?
Not because of that, but we are canceling.
Well, I will make that to you, and I appreciate you being understanding because I need to stay close. But other than that, I don't really have anything other than a big thank you to FFA advisors.
Wasn't there one that kind of got you channeled from public speaking to extemporaneous?
There was a fellow
To go
who, when I was an FFA young man, he told me, he said, look, pretty good speaker, let's enter you in this contest. And we lucked up. We, in a prepared speech contest, we won state. And he even went with me after he was no longer my FFA advisor, but the state contest, it was through the Farm Bureau. The state contest was in November, I think it was, and he was already teaching some other class in the new ag. The return of the old ag advisor was in there. He went with me on that trip, and we won a state title. And to this day, we probably still have to know that speech because we heard it so much. And he told me, he said, you're pretty good at that prepared public speech, but I think you need to try extemporaneous. And I went on to do pretty good at that.
Why? Because there's some pretty little girl that's gonna knock you out of the saddle.
Always! Man, let me tell you, there was always some girl who beat me.
Go extemporaneous.
I was kind of full of something too.
Why are you saying was past tense? Full of stuff. And
I was. Now I'm not so much.
okay, Mr. Philpott. You have to try to top that last statement. But
Yeah, Mr. Turner, I probably should have asked this while ago. What is this right here? Do we do this, don't we do this every year?
What is that?
Now, that's
That's
just
the
instructional.
You knew, kind of, sort of, but this is different.
We need to amend those years.
Amend them?
Yes, sir. And in order to amend them, I don't have to reproduce the entire ad, just the things that we're adding. So I'm adding to those years, we still have funds left out of those years.
Yes, sir.
I'm adding, Wilson Middle High School, so that we can spend the money for those.
Good idea.
For that project, and also to pay for property casualty insurance.
That's a good idea. Thank you. That's all I have.
all right, thank you, Mr. Philpott. Couple things from the chair. One, Mr. Superintendent, thank you for painting over the previous
Amen, Mr. Turner. Thank you.
that was advertised in front of the proposed, well, not proposed, but the site of the new Williston Middle High School. And also, since we are meeting before our date of legislation, we'd like to ask if you would put together with your staff some kind of little preparation regarding legislative things that are forthcoming. I read some of them last night, but I only got a Cedar Key reading education, so some of them were kind of.
Would you like the legislative platform for advance and new things? Is that what you're referring to?
Well, that also, but mainly these things that are already coming up before the legislator, you know, that they will be voting on. I saw one of them was like something dealing with the FHSAA for next year, but I couldn't find. So either of those proposals, so that we may speak to them while we are in Tallahassee as well. These either came from, there was one thing that came from Pam Stewart herself with the testing and other things. What those, you know, impact us a little bit more in detail, and then some of the other legislative things being proposed by Mumford and some of those other guys that are already moving, so to speak. I would be appreciative, and I think it would inform me better when I go to the legislative day to get some insights. I guess that's what I'm looking for, some insights from you and your staff that has already, I'm sure, begun looking at some of those.
You're wanting the hot spot things?
Yes, sir. That are pretty much not what NEFAC, FABS, SBLA, FSBA want done, but things that are already being looked at that are going to be done.
We really don't have that information because the legislative season at this point hasn't started yet, so I can't tell you what's moving and what's not moving, what has legs, as they say, what has legs and what doesn't have legs. And just in the realm of education alone, there'll be over 300 bills submitted.
With hot topics.
Hot topics.
Yes, sir.
I can do that.
I would appreciate it before we're leaving to go to Tallahassee.
At the next board meeting, I'll give you a list of hot topics.
That is agreeable with everyone? That's good. All right, sir. Sir.
I do have one other thing, if you don't mind, sir.
Would it matter?
Well, I don't know, it might, probably not. I need a little help here, folks. I signed up to go to this thing back before Ms. Brooklyn changed the meeting. And, well, excuse me, Ms. Brooklyn's idea. I signed up to go to this thing on Tuesday. And the reason why is because I think I need 12 hours before I'm a certified board member. Now, I can get 5 of them those 2 days. But I have to be there on Tuesday, which is the board meeting.
It's all day Tuesday.
It's all day Tuesday.
And then Wednesday morning.
So, I didn't get elected to go to Tallahassee, I know that. But I would be here, but, we done paid the money, Ms. Pam's already paid the money. And,
are there any other board members in this same situation?
No, I'm not.
And then we would still be afforded a quorum, in your absence, Mr. Philpott. And personally, I think that's a very good.
For you,
We would.
I really appreciate your understanding that, and like I say,
And along those lines, I've already started the process of getting our appointment set up, so with Representative Stone and Senator Dean.
And any others?
So, and.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Philpott.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Thank y'all.
Is there any other business to come before the school board this time? If not, we stand then.